All right, listen up. This is the Music Scene Podcast. I am your host, Dave Cudrak. Today, we've got our first guest from India, which is very exciting. He's in New Delhi. His name is actually Ari, but he goes by Jeneriq. And he just had a song come out about a month or so ago. He's had a few singles out. His latest one came out, I think, in March. And then he's got some more songs coming up, and he's got a new album in the works. And yeah, he's a cool guy. He was classically trained in classical guitar, or I should say, he was trained in classical guitar, vocals, drum. He went to Berkeley for a short period of time, which I'm always fascinated by students that go to Berkeley because everyone I talk to, their experience is slightly different. And yeah, just all around great guy. He's got some big things coming up this year, so make sure you check his stuff out. We get a clip of his song at the end of this podcast, so make sure you stick around for that. And here's my conversation with Jeneriq.
I'm so sorry about my hair. I don't know why it's looking like this.
That's okay. That's all right. Yeah, so this is our second time trying this. I know we had some technical issues with the upload. So you go by Jeneriq, is that right? Am I pronouncing it right?
Right. So you can call me Ari though, like everyone calls me
Ari, okay.
But my artist name is Jeneriq.
Okay.
So it's almost the same. It's not Jeneriq, but it's like Jeneriq.
Jeneriq. Okay.
Jeneriq,
Got it.
yeah.
Got it. Thank you. And then first off, tell everybody where they can find your music.
So currently I'm working on my own debut album, but I have released a couple of singles, and you can always hear my music on Spotify, YouTube, and all the major stores, major streaming stores, wherever you want to find it. It's available over TikTok, Instagram, all over the place. And of course, I have shot a couple of videos, which you can find on YouTube and on Instagram as well. But
okay, and
yeah,
that can all be
TikTok.
found under the name Jeneriq, right?
Absolutely,
Jeneriq
same
Music?
name, same profile picture, same everything. Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. And then tell me about the debut album that's coming.
So debut album, I'm not sure. As I did say, I'm working on my own debut album, but that is in the process when I'm able to build an audience. So currently, I have a couple of songs which I want to put in the album, but I'm not sure when I'm going to release it because I want to work on the singles first, and I want to release a couple of singles first, and just build a little bit of a fan base and build a bit of an audience that is waiting for the album. And when I build that attention, then I'm gonna just drop the album when I see that it's right.
Gotcha.
When it's the right time. So yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. And then I think you had a single recently come out. Is that right?
Right. It got released on March 7th. Yeah, on
Okay.
March 7th it got released. Yes, the last one.
Okay. What's the name of that one?
The song is called "Would You Stay," and again, if I say the sad sob story, it's just simply like I wrote it about someone I love like last year, and like it's just like I lost her, and no, but like she's alive though, but she's not there anymore in my life, and
Right.
that's what I wrote the song about. And it's just generally about like how it's a bit of a deep meaning, like how I'm still waiting for her, even though I'm not waiting for her. So it's like
Sure.
it's at a place where I'm still standing at the same place, and I'm writing a song where the whole scenario is on in my head, and it's just like a delulu situation, and
Okay.
all is going in my head. But by the end of the song, by the outro of the song mostly, I realized that it's all just all fake stories and all just like it's all in my head. It's not real, and that is
Right.
what in the outro. I'm talking about how I cannot let her go. So
Yep.
till the outro, I'm just talking about how I love her and how I cannot tell her the things I want to say. How I cannot say the things what I want to say. But by the outro, I realized that she's not there, and I cannot say it to her no matter
Right.
what. So
Yep.
she's not there anymore, and it's just all in my head. And I realized that how I
Okay.
cannot let her go, even though she's not here.
Yeah. I think that's a story we can all kind of relate to. So I love that. I think that's a great concept. Are you working on your next single? Do we have one coming out sometime soon?
It is like I'm working on a rap song right now. So it's probably gonna be released next month.
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, no, probably by the end of June, I'm thinking of releasing it. I have recorded it, but it depends upon when I get the mix and the master and when I'm able to send it for the distribution. And I want to keep a
Okay.
little bit of like 3 to 4 weeks before the release. So I just want to like gauge into that timeline. But most hopefully like by the end of the June or by the first week of July for sure.
Okay. And then what's the name of that song?
That song is called has two names right now, but I'm not sure which I'm gonna put. Like either it's Clear My Mind or it's I Love You No More. So I'm not sure about which name I'm gonna put, but mostly it's Clear My Mind. I'm gonna put it like that. So
Okay.
Clear My Mind is gonna be releasing by the
Yep.
end of June.
And you said this is more of a rap song or hip hop?
This is entirely a rap song. Like
Okay.
it's just yeah. The first verse is just simply about how like I'm talking about things and how like a kind of a rebel kind of a thing. That's the
Mm-hmm.
first verse about, and second verse is more introspective. And second verse is about I've written there are elements of it like I'm talking about my sister and I'm talking about her again, which I wrote the song of Don't You Stay. So I'm talking about
Okay.
her and how she's not there, but also I'm talking about how I moved on from that and how
Gotcha.
my sister helped me, like in just moving on and helping me emotionally
Mm-hmm.
and how I'm talking about like hopeful things in the second verse, and first
Yep.
verse is all about like just all rebel and like out of
Okay.
angst. Like,
So what made you decide cuz the first song Would You Stay, I would I would say that's kind of like a singer-songwriter type vibe, right? I wouldn't call it hip hop, right? Or rap in any way. So what made you decide to go from that style to like a rap song?
so personally, I used to write a lot of rap songs back when I was in high school. So which was like 3 4 years ago only. So I used to write a lot of songs, a lot of rap songs. Used to write a lot of rap verses. There was a whole 2 year phase that I was really on Eminem and Tupac and Biggie, and I used to
Mhm.
listen to like all like I used to listen to rap music all day, and that's where I was writing the most of my songs were rap songs at that time, but I was not good enough. So like to rap, even though I tried, I was not good enough to just do that. Even though I was good in writing, but of course I was a
Mhm.
musician first, and I had learned classical music, and I have been to Berkeley, and I have learned songwriting and composition from all over. So that is where I'm mastering. So I want to go into that mostly of the journey. Rap songs is something that I want to put out once here and there, so that to
Okay.
keep like to satisfy myself and to be able to put out what I want to say. Sometimes I feel like personally when I write a lot of music, write a lot of songs, and there are words, there are lyrics which I'm not able to put in a song because in a song you're not able to say entirely what you want to say, but in a rap song you can really say the entire story, like how you began and the end of it. You can say
Yeah,
entirely, and
that's a good point because like in kind of like your traditional singer-songwriter or acoustic type, vibe, you're really trying to kind of tell a story but in not so many words, right? But with hip
right,
hop or rap, those lyrics are so in some cases those lyrics are so rapid fire. You can squeeze a lot of detail in a short space. So I think it's pretty interesting that your attempt to try to tell the whole story in as much detail as you want, you're using, rap to do that. I think that's pretty cool. I like that.
right,
There's a singer-songwriter, well, I don't know if you call him singer-songwriter, but there's a guy named Matt Kearney. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. He's kind, he's pretty famous. Some of his older albums have like raps in them, like in the middle of it. So
okay,
when you said that you were trying to do like that, you've got some roots based in hip hop that you'd like to put out a rap song every once in a while. It kind of brought me back to this Matt Kearney guy, where the majority of his music I would say is kind of typical singer songwriter type stuff. But then yeah, in the middle of a song or whatever, like over top of an acoustic guitar, you'll hear him like rap and stuff, which I thought
uh,
was pretty cool. So yeah,
is
I'm
it like Ed
interested in
Sheeran how you used to write that?
what's that.
Is it like Ed Sheeran how you
A
written like
little bit, yeah, a little bit,
like
yeah. He
sing
might
and all?
Yeah, Matt Kearney might have a few more beats behind him than like Ed Sheeran does, but yeah, it's in the same vein, I think. Yep, yep, very
Yeah,
cool.
same.
Okay, so then is the next song going to be about how you found your next true love, or because I think we're on like a whole journey, right?
Nah, no love for me anymore though. So no love whatsoever. It's all about just moving on and just focusing on myself
Yeah,
and just
right, right.
being able to just get out of all of it and try to figure out my trajectory in music and trajectory in life, and
Yep.
not just get stuck onto one single person or one single thing. So yeah, no
Okay.
more love songs though, but I do write them, so I cannot complain.
we all we all say that, but they all somehow have a tendency to come to the surface when we sit down to write. Everybody loves a good heartbreak story, that's for sure.
Exactly.
So I know we talked a little bit about, kind of your education, your music education in our previous attempt. But I do want to touch base on that a little bit. You did spend some time at Berkeley, right? At Berkeley in Boston. And if you could just refresh my memory, what are all the instruments that you're kind of trained in, and give me a little bit more about your background.
Right. So I mostly, like I would say about if I talk about my forte, I would say I have trained in classical guitar. I started
Hmm.
with classical guitar, and that is the one instrument I've played all my life. Along with the classical guitar, I have learned bass and vocals. At Berkeley, I was learning songwriting and composition and how to do film scoring. Other than that, of course, I have learned from Trinity and I have completed my diplomas in there in classical guitar and vocals. Along with that, I also play piano and drums. Although I'm not like an advanced player or something that I can play in an orchestra or something, but for sure I'm able to make my way around it. Like I have played both of those instruments for a while, for a lot of years now. So I'm able to compose music and I'm able to write. Of course, like I write all of my music.
Hmm.
So I am able to write those parts, the drum parts and the piano parts, myself. Along, of course, like I'm able to write the violin parts as well,
Oh,
but I
that's
don't
awesome.
play the violin.
Yep.
But I'm able to write those parts, and of course, hire someone. If I want a real violin, I would
Hmm.
hire a violin player to play it, or a cello player to play the cello parts. Usually, I do that when I'm writing big songs, but
Hmm.
but I'm just simply trying to write a singer songwriter kind of a song. Then I mostly either do it like through MIDI or like maybe through a Fiverr or something, through hire someone else who's able to like just play a simple part or something. If I want a raw natural sound, then
Yep.
I would hire a musician and to do that. But before that, before we just say I released another song, which is "Where Is My Home," and
Hmm.
that was a very big song. That was a very big song in terms of instrumentation and in terms
Yeah.
of orchestration.
Mhm.
So in that, I did hire all of it is live. So if when you hear there's a flute part in it. There is a your cello part, the violin part, the drummer,
Mhm.
of course, everything. I wrote the drummer, the drum parts, and he played it, and there was a lot of back and forth, but we were able to
Sure.
come up with something really, really good for the song. So definitely in that song, I didn't use any MIDI more, like probably
Mhm.
I didn't use any MIDI, and it was all real players playing the real instruments, and that is what I did. But for would you say I did hire I did like play the violin or the flute. There's a little bit of flute there through a MIDI piano,
Mhm.
and of course I did hire a choir. If you hear the song, there's a lot of choir parts in it, and I hired a
Yep.
choir, and I sent them the entire choir arrangement and how I want them to sound like. And again, there was a lot of back and forth, like let's do this, let's do that, and we
Mhm.
collaborated on that, and we were able to come up with some good harmonies, and we were able to come up with the choir part of the song. So
That's
that
awesome.
was just about the difference of the two songs.
That's great. I love that. So when you're writing, if when inspiration kind of hits, is it usually some kind of musical piece, like a riff or something, or do you start with lyrics?
It really depends though, because like if there are two things in it. So earlier when I was not going through some things, I was writing about one specific thing when it was just a lot of anger in my head and a lot of lot of things in my head. I was writing about that. So then naturally the inspiration was about that. And if at that time someone would have asked me if you've written a love song, I wouldn't say that no, I haven't, because that is not something I'm going through. And for a lot of years I haven't written all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, like during the whole time I was writing about time and life and being alone. And it was all like deep, really, really deep poetry, kind of that stuff. And then after that, when I did fall in love, that was all I was writing about, and about hurt and about love. And at that time, I was not writing about time and life, and how they are both related, and how being the age and the years are passing, or this and that. I was writing
Yep.
simply about love and trying to find poetry in that. So I was writing about that. So, and now it's a mix. Now when I'm writing music, if an inspiration strikes, I try to write music. Usually, I'm not able to write much of the music nowadays, and mostly focusing on the older music which I've written, and try to bring the old recordings and just try to work and just try to complete them, because there's a lot of music that
Oh,
I
okay.
have in my phone. There's a lot of music in my iPods and everywhere, and I'm trying to finish those, because there's so much music in them, and some really good music in them. So I want,
Yeah.
like, sometimes when the music is not hitting my head and I'm not able to come up with an inspiration, I try
Mm-hmm.
to listen to the old recordings and try to finish them as well. But yeah, it's not just the music or the lyrics. It really depends upon what I'm feeling. A lot of the times it's the lyrics though, because when I'm like in a train, or when I'm in a subway or something like that, or if I'm just in a bus, or if I'm in a car, I don't have an instrument. So what
Mm-hmm.
I do, I usually end up just writing, and that is what I'm saying. That is what I'm just writing, and in a form of a rap song. So I just
Yeah.
write, and then,
Yep.
of course, like, it depends upon what kind of a song I want to make, and if I have an instrument and it fits the music, then it fits the music. If it's a rap song, it becomes a rap song. If it fits a singer
Okay.
songwriter, blues, jazz, classical, any kind of a song, if it fits the music, that is the kind of song it is, because it's very
Yep.
important. Like, I saw one interview of John Mayer, I think, and he said, like,
Mm-hmm.
for a lyric, and for, like, lyrics have to fit the music itself, and if the whole
Right.
thing, the music and the song, has to be according to the singer, and when all of it
Mm-hmm.
fits together, then it becomes a great song. So definitely, and now only I've realized this thing, that earlier what I used to do, I used to sing all of my songs, and I used to feel like I need to sing the song because I have written it. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm trying to figure out that not to do that, and try to figure out if my voice actually suits that song or not. And if, like, for Where Is My Home, I have sung the entire song, but then I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I want a female singer to sing certain parts with me, and that's why I asked one of my singer friends, and she sang some of the, like, I think half of the song she sang with me,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a whole character showing, like, the male and the female, and the male part represents the dreaded man kind of a person who has done all the mistakes and he's lost all his hope, and the female represents the hope, and that is the two characters I wanted to bring in the song, and that's why I did that. So now I'm trying to figure, and I'm trying to just contain myself from not able to sing those every single song I write, but I'm able
Yep.
to compose all of the songs. So let's just try to collaborate,
That's
if
cool.
even if I'm not singing the song.
No, that's
Yes.
great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a lot of folks who their primary passion is songwriting.
Right.
And it's funny because, like, a lot of these folks I talk to, they're very talented singers and players, but for whatever reason, they don't want to be up front and in the spotlight. They would rather just spend all their time writing, writing, and writing, and then handing those songs off to other people who want to record them. So it's certainly a viable option for sure. I think that's great that you kind of diversify yourself, and
Right.
not just focus on one particular thing. I think in
Absolutely.
today's age, I think the way to make money in music, and not that it's all about the money, but in a practical sense, the way to be a successful musician is to really kind of spread yourself out in a bunch of different channels, if you will, right? Like, maybe you've got a YouTube channel where you're teaching guitar lessons or vocal lessons or something, and then you've got your own songs, and then you're writing songs for other folks. Like, I think that's really the only way to make a living in music nowadays.
Actually, like, sure, like,
Yeah.
everyone's trying to get big, but like, if you really observe really, really closely, it takes a lot of money, a lot of good connections to be able to
Mm-hmm.
even get to a
Yep.
point. And it's not just being able to work hard or just hitting on the record label's door and trying to get that deal. That doesn't work
Hmm.
anymore, and that it
Right.
also did not work earlier. But now
Yeah.
the whole thing has changed nowadays. So yeah, I do
Hmm.
have a day job as well, and
Yeah.
I am trying to like help my mom run a business. So
Hmm.
doing that, and of course, I don't want to lose music. So music is something
Sure.
I'm doing and hoping for that to happen. And I invest all of my money, which I get from the day job and the business, into
Hmm.
music. So that is
Okay.
something my plan is. Like even if I don't have the connections, let's put the money in,
Yep.
and let's do that, and maybe that can work out. So
Nice.
because at the end of the day, I'm never satisfied with any of the music or the business, any of the job or the business or the money, whatever I
Hmm.
get. It never suffices. You never feel satisfied with the money you have. It's never going to be enough. That is one thing
Right.
I've realized now.
Yeah,
So for
I
sure.
have a similar experience. Like back when I was younger, probably when I was like your age, I made a conscious decision to kind of ignore music and just focus on, getting a good education, getting a good job and getting that, doing the house and all that stuff. And yeah, I eventually got there with a few setbacks on the way, but music always kind of found its way back, and now like you, I have a day job, but I really focus a lot of my attention on music because that's what motivates me. That's what gets me out of bed. It's not my 9 to 5 job is what gets me. I mean, technically, yes, it does get me out of bed, but it's not what drives me all day. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, so yeah, for sure.
Totally, I totally agree.
Let's talk a little bit about influences. I know you mentioned Biggie and Tupac, and then you also mentioned Ed Sheeran. So, who were some of your major influences?
Uh, like there are a lot of them actually, but definitely few of them I would say uh, is I wouldn't say influences as an artist because a lot of artists make different kind of music. It's mostly about different styles of music and different songs themselves that influence me as a musician, and not just artists themselves. So as I started with classical guitar, of course I was really influenced by Tarrega and Beethoven. Francisco Tarrega
Hmm.
is a classical guitar player, and then of course Beethoven and Bach and all of those classical composers. But I was able to listen to that music, and of course, since I'm from India, I was able to listen to a lot of Indian music, and that really shaped my style of music and the the melodies and the concept and the compositions I
Hmm.
make. Along with that, of course, I have been influenced by Ed Sheeran and Eminem. There was a whole phase of Ed Sheeran and Eminem. For
Hmm.
3 4 years, I was so obsessed. I had like T-shirts and merch and whatnot, and I used to call even as so much so I thought I would name myself as Eminem, you know, just Eminem. I was thinking like that, but yeah, for 3 4 years it went on like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ed Sheeran and Eminem has been a huge influence on me. Slipknot and a lot of rock musicians have
Oh,
been there.
really? Yeah.
Yeah, nowadays I really like Greta Van Fleet. Of
Oh,
course,
they're
like
great. Yeah. Yep.
they are great. Yeah, so them and of course Måneskin is there.
Hmm.
Nowadays, if you talk about, I'm listening to a lot of indie artists nowadays. There is Gigi Paris and a lot of Indian indie artists are also there, like Pratik Kohar and Anup Jain and all of them. They
Hmm.
are really big in India,
Yep.
and they most of the times when I'm listening to this indie artist, I'm listening to the lyrics of the songs, and
Yep.
they have really got it right. I feel like in terms of lyrics, music is pretty much the similar. Like if you talk about the music and
Hmm.
composition, it's kind of similar amongst all of the songs.
Yep.
But if you talk about the lyrics, that really plays a huge part in their songs because they're really able to bring that poetry and fit on those notes and fit on the melody lines
Okay.
because
Yep.
that is very important. Like I feel that even like, especially in Indian music, I see that it's the indie artists are really talking about things not directly and like
Hmm.
talking really going into the poetry and really going deeper, and you really have to think about like, oh, what did you say, it's so good. And definitely lyrics have always been a huge part of my songwriting
Hmm.
and of my compositions, and absolutely I focus on them. If the lyrics are good, I feel that okay, I can make a song out of that.
Okay.
So I don't want to waste a good lyric. I might waste a good melody though. They're just not good at all. And you should not do that. But sometimes I focus more on lyrics and not
Yep.
on melody. But
Okay.
yeah, sure, they have been some good influences like that. Uh, Other than that, if I'd say like there's a lot of there's a lot of Indian musicians. If you know, there's been Preetham. If you know, he's a he's a composer, not a classical composer, but
Okay.
he's a music
Yep.
composer in India.
Hmm.
And other than that, like Hans Zimmer and there is another composer like called Ramin something, which he
Hmm.
was an assistant of Hans Zimmer, and he worked on the GOT music, actually Game of Thrones music.
Okay.
So he was an assistant of Hans Zimmer, and I've watched I've watched a lot of his interviews and a lot of his videos, and how he
Hmm.
composed music, and definitely that's been a great inspiration, and
Right.
how to actually find that arrangement. And yeah, a lot of my friends have
Nice.
been influenced by, like, a lot of musician friends. They came up
Nice.
with a lot of good ideas, and I went like, okay, I can adapt this kind of thinking and not
Right.
just focus on this kind of thinking. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. So I mean, I'm here in New Jersey, and you're out in New Delhi, I think. Is that right?
Right, correct, yes.
Yeah. So I want to. I'm curious about the cultural differences when it comes to music. You already mentioned how lyrics seem to be maybe more important, I guess, in India music. Is there any other differences that you can really tell between kind of American music and Indian music?
Right, totally. Like, if you talk about the differences, it's uh it's highly, it ranges like
Yeah.
from a lot of things, actually.
Hmm.
Like, if you talk about American music, we had to say like what kind of American music, because
Well,
there's
yeah.
blues and
There's
jazz and
so
all of
much.
that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But when, like, definitely, because Indian music is a lot more influenced by its cultural music, and same
Hmm.
with American music, like blues and jazz, they've been influenced by a lot of culture there.
Sure. Yep.
So definitely, like, Indian music sounds very different. If you want to categorize it, I would say like a lot of if you talk about classical music, if you can say like maybe Egyptian music and Indian music, they they are kind of similar in terms of scriptures on those
Hmm.
music,
Okay.
and like how they have written and how they are studied.
Hmm.
Of course, like, there's Indian classical music, and there are two types of classical music in India, and it goes like from way back, and like it ranges a lot.
Okay.
But if you talk about the commercial music, I would say like commercial music is also very different though. Commercial music is in America, it's very different
Sure.
in terms of arrangement and in terms of
Yep.
instrumentation.
Yep.
But of course,
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
because of the
they
pop
use
music,
different instruments, right? I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt, but they use different instruments in India music, right?
they do. So as I said, like, for the pop music, they might
Mhm.
not. So for the pop music, it usually goes with the MIDI instruments and usually what people are
Sure.
liking. So for the
Yep.
commercial music, even in the Bollywood or something, they are making music which people might like. So they're
Hmm.
not using Indian cultural music, which would be tabla and harmonium. They're not doing that. But of course, like, if it's a cultural music,
Hmm.
if it's like, if you know, like, a lot of music is made for the films in
Right.
India, in Bollywood.
Yep.
So if in a film it's a cultural scene, or if it's like a scene where they are showing kings and queens and they're showing
Hmm.
Indian culture in the scene itself, then they will
Yep.
make a song related to that. And in
Hmm.
that, they will use Indian cultural instruments. So,
Okay.
but for normally, if they're releasing music and albums or something, they usually go with the production value, which is worldwide similar,
Like typical
which
like
is
pop type stuff, right?
typical.
With
Yes,
beats and all
exactly.
that stuff.
Right, right, right.
I'm curious, are there any bands out in India that might be using like might have music similar to like rock or metal music here in America, where it's like very guitar driven and big drums and all that. Are there any bands like that in India, but the lyrics are in like Hindi or whatever, like the whatever language? I know India's got a ton of different languages, um,
Right.
so so uh, so I don't want to just say Hindi, but I don't know the names of all of them. But yeah, is there like a typical rock band with guitar driven music, but it's in like their native language? Does that exist in your country?
Absolutely. Like, in India, there's like a lot of, if you don't know, like, there's a lot of metal bands, there's a lot of rock bands, a lot of them in the local
Hmm.
scene itself. Of course, like, there, if in amongst the famous ones, there are some indie bands, which I would say like they are not. They have disbanded now. Some of them are
Hmm.
disbanded. There is a
Okay.
band called The Local Train, and they were really, really popular. They were
Hmm.
like they made really good. I wouldn't say totally metal, totally rock music, but it
Hmm.
was like of a alternative rock or something like a bit of a mix between rock and pop
Okay.
rock kind of a mix.
Yep.
And they used to perform live and do all of that, guitars and heavy guitars driven
Hmm.
and good Hindi lyrics, good song lyrics, of course. So there are a lot of bands. I personally don't know a lot of uh, names, but a
Hmm.
lot of bands by their names.
Sure.
But there are I have seen live, and I have seen with my friends
Very cool.
I have seen my friends performing in live bands and live rock music and live performing like that. So for sure, like I'm not sure about the names, but
Hmm.
there are definitely a lot of rock, and they like not just rock. There's a blues, jazz, all
Okay.
of the classical music, and there's a whole music scene there.
Yep.
Especially not in New Delhi, I would say, because New Delhi is different. It's influenced by a lot of Punjabi culture, and it's
Okay.
a lot of Punjabi music that plays in New Delhi.
Gotcha.
Of course, there's
Okay.
Western musicals here as well,
Yep.
but in
Yep.
Bangalore, in Mumbai, you have definitely a lot of, especially in Northeast,
Yep.
northeast of India, you got like tons of
Okay.
rock bands and
Yep.
tons of rock musicians there. They're
Nice.
like a lot of them. Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
cool. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast, and we're gonna put a video of your song "Would You Stay" at the end of this episode. So make sure you guys stick around for that.
Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you.
Wake me up if I lose you in my sleep.
I lost someone I love recently. I mean, she's alive.
Okay. Yeah, that just went a little bit dark in my head. Sorry. Yeah.
I finished the song about her, and now the song is totally changed and has a different meaning.
I'm right to you.